Okay, so instead of going through the whole homework as I was doing before, I'm just going to go through the questions that most people have struggled on, and I'm going to go straight to question 16 because it's one where only 40% of people got right and 60% of you got it wrong. So I'm just going to try and figure out what's going wrong with most of the answers and do the same thing for the rest of it. So if you have anything that you did get wrong and you still don't know the answer to, after this video, just bring it to me in class. So let's look at question 16. Which animal defends itself in a way most similar to the stink bug? Yeah, this was quite a difficult one because you have to sort of... the answer isn't directly in the text. It's indirectly in the text. So let's look at what the stink bug does. Spiders bite, bees sting, stink bugs stink. Unlike spiders and bees, stink bugs do not actually hurt other creatures. So we got two things there, sort of relating them to what they do, and then there's a difference here, is that they don't actually hurt other creatures when they defend themselves. So when a stink bug is in danger, so now we're starting to get told about how it defends itself, is only when it's in danger, it releases a mix of chemicals from its body. So it just releases chemicals. This mix has a very bad odour, so it's just a bad smell. So predators like mice, lizards or birds, when they smell it, they don't want to eat it. Okay. So, I mean, what it basically does is just smell bad, so predators don't want to eat it. Now we have to choose the option that is like most similar to it. It's a bit like similarities in non-verbal reasoning, but with English sentences. So let's read these. The aphid, which causes a lot of damage to crops like berries, melons, and apples. I think a lot of people got confused by this because it says that stink bugs do eat fruits and vegetables and berries, so they are a pest, but that's not how they defend themselves. So I don't think aphid would work because it's talking about animals defending themselves. So the dart frog, which covered in bright colours, which is covered in bright colours that let predators know it should not be eaten. That's kind of similar. It's sort of deterring the predator from eating. The bark scorpion, which can kill predators with a poisonous sting. It can't be that because stink bugs don't damage people. And the chameleon, which can blend in with its surroundings, hiding itself from predators without hurting them. So this one hides, which is not exactly the same as just smelling bad. So I wouldn't go as chameleon either. What we've seen is the most common option, apart from the right one, which is B, was A. So a lot of people thought that because it says in the text that they damage crops, although stink bugs do not bite or sting, they are still a pest, and they eat berries and stuff. So people saw that this is similar because they also damage crops, and thought this must be the most similar option. But you always have to look at the text as a whole instead of just reading a section of it, right? So look directly for where it says that how it defends itself, and then you can come to a better conclusion. And because you know that because you know that stink bugs don't defend themselves by eating crops, you know this section of the passage is pretty much irrelevant to the question. So it'd be a mistake to actually relate this damaging of crops to this to the way they defend themselves, basically. So by process of elimination, you're left with B. And also, if you just think about the similarity, what they're both doing is they're both none of them are hiding or damaging the predator. They're just making the predator not want to eat them. So this one is by looking a certain way, and the other one's by smelling a certain way. But that's the similarity there. Let's go to the next question. Question 41 was the one that most people spelt wrong. So let's go there. I assume most people know. You can just look this up if you got it wrong. And then also obviously make a note of it, because you don't want to make that spelling mistake in the future. Or especially if it comes up in an actual exam, you want to be able to make sure you get this right. So how you spell it is mischievous. So I before the E, except after the C. And verse, mischievous. Let's see how most people spell it. Yeah, so mischievous. So they did mischi. Oh, they did mischievous. Okay. Mischievous. To be fair, that's how I pronounced it, but oh no. So what they've done is they've done mischievous. Mischievous. But if you think about mischievous, really, either way, it's really just sort of memorizing these spellings. There's nothing else you can really do about that. Let's go to question 58. I'll probably go through a lot more of the maths questions as well. But question 58. Okay, so this is the close one. What happened here is just most people spelled it wrong. Actually, no, they didn't spell it wrong. I think the mark scheme just gave the mark for snowflake instead of snowflakes. So I'll actually have to correct that one. Question 58. So I think most people understood this. With this, you always want to read the whole sentence before you go for one of the options, because you want to understand the context before you get through it. And then also always be open to having gotten the first one wrong. So let's say you put it was dreadfully cold. It was dreadfully cold, it was snowing fast, etc. And then somewhere down here you think that dreadfully would have fit in. Just put it in and try and figure out what could replace here. So don't get too bogged down by overusing the options. Okay, let's go back, see what we're struggling on. I'm assuming there'll be a lot more mistakes on maths, but if there aren't, I'm just going to go through some of the more difficult ones. Okay, not many. I mean, it makes sense that the mistakes have been made on the last few questions, where these are word problems compared to just asking you a question. So all of these you'll probably be able to figure out. Yeah, it makes sense. So I'm just going to go through the word problems. And I mean, question 80 is already one where we've got only 45% of you got it right. So let's go through it. Lucy's kitten meows every 6 seconds. Olivia's kitten meows every 9 seconds. If they're both starting meowing at the same time, after how many seconds will they next meow at the same time? So, I mean, so they both start at 0. At second 6, he's meowed. At second 9, the other cat's meowed. And basically, you can just figure out what second is each one gonna meow. So at second 12, it's gonna. So the first cat's gonna meow. Second 18. Second 24, and you can see this is just a 6 times table. And then this one is going to be the same thing. And basically you just have to keep going until you find the lowest common multiple. So that's an instance where what we were teaching you about the lowest common multiple is actually going to be put into practice, and they're going to ask you to use it in a word problem where it's in an unfamiliar situation. So let's just keep going. 36. Oh, there you go. You can see this is a multiple, so you know it's gonna come up. So, oh yeah. So I was gonna say 36 and 36, But you can see they actually meowed earlier, and they both meowed at 18 seconds. And most people put 54 for some reason. I think they just carried on going until they got to 54 and missed out the fact that there's 18 up here and also 36 up here. And it's asking how many seconds until they meow again at the same time. So I mean, you're talking about the most recent meow. Let's look at question 81. 4 people left that blank. Most people got it right though. 3 squared is just 3 times 3. 5 squared is 5 times 5. And if you add those together, just remember BIDMAS. So you do the multiplying before the adding. So you can get 9 plus 25, and from that you get 34. Question 82. We had, again, quite a few people leave it blank. So let's go through that. The temperature in 5 cities is shown in the table. What is the difference between the highest and the lowest temperatures? So you see the highest is 12. And many of you might think the lowest is 0. But a negative number is lower than 0 if you look at the number line. So this is 0. This is -1. This is 1. So if you further go down, the bigger the negative number. So -13 is always going to be down here, and 12 is going to be up here. So then you can just count how many gaps there are between this. So let's think. To get from -13 to 0, we add 13. And then to get from there to 12, you add 12. So the difference between this number and this number is 25, because if you add these two up. So that will be your answer. Question 83. Brian is thinking of a number. The number is the sum of 4 square numbers, which are also factors of 64. What is the number? Okay, so let's just list out the factors of 64 first. Most of you know how to do factors, so not prime factors, sorry, let's just do factors. So 8 times 8, obviously. 64 and 1. 32 and 2. What else is there? 16 and 4. Okay, well, we've got a few square numbers there already, so we've got 4 and 16. Let's now go 9, 16, 25. Just listing out the square numbers. 36. Okay, so these aren't going to be it. So if we're going to look for 4 square numbers that are also factors, they're going to have to be from this list, because none of these are above. Actually, 64 will also count. So if we choose 4 of them that are there, so we've got 1, we've got 64, we've got 4, and we've got 16. And then if we just add them all up, what we're going to get is 5 plus 16 is 21, and add that to 64, get 85. And I believe that's your answer. Let me just double check. 84. Yeah. 85. That's correct. Let's go on to the next one. Question 84. Feroz's age is a square number. His younger brother's age in years is also a square number. The sum of their ages is 20 years. How old is Feroz? Okay, so if we just look at the square numbers again. So this is obviously 1 times 1, 2 times 2, 3 times 3, 4 times 4 is 16, 5 times 5 is 25. It's not going to be that. It's obviously going to be below that because they have to add up to 20. So in years, he's a square number. His younger brother's age in years is also a square number. So it's going to be two square numbers that add up to 20. So we have to look for one of these that add up to 20. I don't immediately see one. So there we go. I see it. Sure. So 4 and 16 add up to 20. And his younger brother's age in years is also a square number. So his younger brother is 4 years old and he is 16 years old. And that'll be our answer. Yeah. Alright, let me go on to the next few. I'm just waiting to see which NVR questions will need explanations. Most of these are quite simple. If you got them wrong, what you've probably done is you might have applied too many of the rules in one go. So let me just explain that. When you're looking at an analogy question, you always want to look at the change between one shape to the second shape. And you want to break that change down into a list, so you don't want to do it all in one go. So a lot of people will say, oh, this turned right, and then the triangle flipped, and then the shading also changed or something, and then they'll try and do all of it in one go to this. But what's better is if you just turn this to the right, so you've got one change, which is it turns to the right, then turn this to the right as well, and then just cancel out anything that doesn't match. So these two are turned too far. This one isn't. So now you're just left with two of them. And it's a lot quicker to solve. So now what you can see is the triangle, instead of carrying on facing it outwards, it's faced inwards now. So it's sort of flipped. So this one is, instead of facing towards that, it's going to face this way. So it should be facing that way. And you can actually see right there which one actually matches. The point should be going that way, and this one is pointing down, whereas this one is pointing this way. So it's going to be B. And let's look at the questions that people are getting wrong. 86, nope. Most of you are getting most of these right. 93 is a lot of people got that one wrong. So let's see what's going wrong here. It's pretty much exactly what I was talking about before, is because there's a lot going on, you can make a mistake on this. So always flip it, or always do your changes one by one. So the first change you can see is that this bit is reflected. So it's facing down now instead. And obviously, if you look at the pattern, is also reflected. So all of it is reflected. I think what we can assume is this part's also been reflected. So let's just check. If we reflect it, it's going to be like this. And then you have the black bar and the circle. And then also the pattern changes, yeah. So you can see is basically the whole thing has just been reflected, and that's pretty much all that's happened. So we want to look for one that's been reflected, but take it one step at a time. So let's just think about what this would look like if we reflected it. It would look like this, with a square, triangle on the left, and I think we can cancel one out there. There we go. And the shape pattern will obviously go the opposite direction, because if you hold it up against a mirror, go the opposite direction. So we can cancel this one out. We can cancel out this one as well, and we're only left with 2. And the last thing that will happen is the shading of the triangle will also be changed to the opposite direction. So what I think you can help is if you draw the shading out. So this is a triangle shading, and we want it the other way. We want it this way because it's reflected, right? So let's draw this one out. It's this way, and then this one is this way, and we have to see which one matches this. And what you can see is it's C. So if we rub it all out, C is actually right, and the rest of these are wrong. Okay, we've got a few more. Question 96. We struggled on this as well. So take it one step at a time. Let's flip this. Let's see what's happening. This is rotating to the right. Is there any way I can show that? I don't think there is. But you can see it's just rotating clockwise. So it's going from there to there. It's going downwards. So let's rotate this one to the right and try and just draw it out before we actually even delete any of them. So you can see it's going to be like that. It's going to be bad drawing. There we go. Because that top bit, if you can even actually look around, this top bit is going to be going all the way down here. This one's going to go up. So we can cancel some of them out already. This matches, A matches, B doesn't, D doesn't. Oh, where's my pen not working? Okay, there we go. And we're left with 3. And let's look at this next change that happens. We can see that when it does rotate, the pattern isn't the same, because the white stripes were usually like not that far apart. They only had one black line in between, and now they have a thicker black line, and it sort of looks like they've moved up as well. So it's a bit hard to tell, but you can see that the white obviously was here, and there's no white here. It's moved up 1. And then if we look at this one, the white is here, and then instead of going here, it's moved up 2. So it's moved up 2 positions. So let's just do that. Well, I mean, first of all, we can actually take out A, sorry, because from here to here the white lines haven't changed at all. And C only has one white line, so I think it just leaves off with E anyway. So we don't really have to try and go through the finicky details of applying that rule. And that is the answer. The most, that was only 38% of you got that right. But the rest of the NVR, it seems like most people have done well. So let's move on to the verbal reasoning, where we've got almost all of the questions. Actually, all of the questions people have struggled on. Actually, no, verbal reasoning everyone got right. It's just that the online mark scheme is a bit complicated. I think it expected you to put H in instead of writing out all of it. So I'm actually just going to give you all the marks for that. And I think that's everything. Let me just check if there's more difficult maths in the optionals. This one was a bit difficult. The trick is just sort of finding a neat way to quickly realise whether your answer is right, sort of. So if you think about how do you figure out if 60 is divisible by 2, most of you can tell that it's divisible by 2. But what you're actually doing there is that you're looking at the last number, or you're just looking at the whole number as a whole and you're asking, is it even? So you can write that in, is it even? Or is the last number even? Is the last digit even? But anything like that, basically. Yeah, so is the last digit even, is the trick there. And if you look at the trick for question 3, for divisible by 3, I think it goes something like, they taught this whole thing in class actually, but I think what you can do is you can add these two together, and then if that is divisible by 3, then it is, right? So if we go with, let's say, 36, and these, if you add 3 and 6 together, you get 9, so you know it's divisible by 3. Or if we go with 52, if you add these two together, you get 7, so you know it isn't divisible by 3. So if we go with 127, you're going to get 10, so you know it's not divisible by 3. And if you get 90, adds up to 9, so you know it's divisible by 3. So that would be the trick there. I mean, there's not really any way to figuring this out. I mean, you can always test around, but just have a look at the answers online if you've forgotten, or your notes, and then write them down. And it's just a quicker way of remembering them. You don't really need to know them. This one, so cubed is obviously 2 times 2 times 2. So if you do 2 times 2 first, it's 4. And then you do, that's going to be, ignore that, so it's going to be 4 times 2. Meaning the answer is actually 8, so that's why Tony is wrong. And yeah, most of these are fine. Yep, all these answers are online, so I think you'll be fine with the rest of it. But it's a bit of a short video today. Hopefully, if there's any questions, anything you got wrong, they've been answered here.